Have you noticed that at all?
I certainly feel stiffer, if nothing else. Like I have to put in time every morning, mobility and some physio that I'm doing. And
Mhm.
actually, for me, it's also very important to do some of that same thing at night before I hit the bed. And if
Okay.
I'm quite tired from, let's say, a climbing session or a surf session, and I'm feeling kind of wrecked, if I can put in those 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the day to stretch, I will guaranteed feel refreshed the next morning. On the flip
Hmm.
side, if I don't do that, if I just pass out, then the next morning I'll wake up, with rigor mortis. So, so I have that.
Living rigor mortis. It's the worst, isn't it? It's terrible. Yeah, I mean, every day I walk my dog 1 to 2 hours. He's the high energy dog, so he needs a walk. I do yoga about 5 days a week. I think that that's really important for me for, like you said, like for mobility, I think, um, and just strength building. And then I think the other thing, that's somewhat specific to rock climbing, and especially when you're trying to climb your hardest, is that you have to maintain strength and power, right? I mean, strength just being your innate strength, and power being strength plus speed. The ability to use your strength quickly to execute moves quickly when you need to, when there's sort of split second timing going on. And I think a big part of hanging on to that, in my mid kind of late 40s, I was on a climbing trip to Cayman Brac with some friends of mine. One of them was Nina Williams, who's, in her 30s now and has been like a top climber and a pro climber and coaches. And she's really good at sort of drilling down with what's working for other climbers and what isn't. And she could see it right away. She's like, oh, you can hang on forever, but you don't really have any power. And I used to have power, like when I was younger, because we all sort of do, right, innately, but it had been dwindling. And I was just sort of in denial about that. I was like, I don't know, I'm fine. But really, I was losing the ability to do hard moves, to do limit moves. So I've worked with her over the last 5 years on training programs that I use in the winter. But a big part of that has been boarding, moon boarding, which is a fixed angle wall at 40 degrees with a grid of 198 holds connected to an app that lights up the holds and pulls up boulder problems. And most of the boulder problems involve jumping between, pretty small holds, and it builds a lot of power, like a lot of finger strength, a lot of power, a lot of contact strength, a lot of ability to do sort of split second execution. And I think that's been key, especially as I move into my 50s, is like do that once a week, maybe twice when I'm training, and lifting weights as well. Like doing these things to hang on to strength, but also to try to improve strength. I mean, I do feel more powerful now than I have. I probably had more power in my 20s, but these training tools weren't around back then, so I didn't really address it as directly. Using those things, weights 3 times a week, moonboard once or twice, has really let me see and maintain gains from my 40s into my 50s.
That is remarkable indeed that you, in some ways, feel more sharp than you were in your 20s. I did happen to chance upon this video of your enviable garage
Mm.
training setup, Matt, and yeah, you have these circuits that you made up, linking like your home wall to your moon board. I have
Hmm.
played on the moon board a little bit. We don't have one right at my city gym, and to me, I think it's almost exactly the same as what you described, which is I've had so many friends tell me that two things. One is that I move like a sloth, and I
Okay.
can and I can hang on to jugs forever. But
Hmm.
at the same time, it is harder for me to, yeah, generate more power. And I think if I try, so I think, yeah, the lesson is work on that weakness, work on the explosiveness. But the other side to that is sometimes, as we get older, we feel more fragile. I don't know if we are more fragile, but we certainly feel more fragile. I know that at least yes, I am more injured. Many people I know who are my contemporaries, maybe older, they also complain about like freaking nagging shoulder issues and hip issues and ankle issues. What have you learned about your own body